let's cover some more Gold Cup 2025 content for you guys today. It's going to be the dark horses of the tournament, and the four of us here are going to give you guys actually our opinions today. Per usual, my name is Elijah. I'm joined by Andres, Diego, and Joaquin. Let's get right into it. Who wants to go first? Who do you guys have as your biggest dark horse of the tournament that everybody should be looking out for when they watch it? If anyone wants to shout it out, feel free to.
Diego. Let's go with Diego. How about Diego?
All right.
Okay.
Put him on the spot.
I'm
Ball
a
knowledge.
little I'm a little torn because I'll be honest. My first initial pick was Panama. I did talk to Elijah about this, that I feel like it's almost an obvious pick, just because they're like, they're a one seed with Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. in their groups. So I don't really know if they're considered a dark horse. I mean, no one's thinking about them to win it, so I feel like that kind of classifies it. We're always talking about the top three, and Panama are not considered there. So I'm gonna put Panama there. If someone wants to argue against them not being a dark horse, that's totally valid. But I think they're a dark horse. I think they're actually set up, besides one opponent, but I think they're actually set up to perfectly kind of counter the big teams in this tournament. They don't mind playing that defensive structure. They have five at the back, like two wing backs ready to counterattack. They have a like 3-man midfield. They play with one striker. They will sit back and ready to attack. And not to compare them to these teams, but like we saw it with Inter versus Barca. Obviously Inter's a much higher quality, but still we saw the idea that even though Barca liked to dominate possession, they were still hit at their weak points. And I think Panama can and have already done that to these other teams before, and they will do it again. I think they will get maybe one upset in this tournament. Will they get enough in a row to win it? I don't know, but that's why they're the dark horse. Hopefully we can see them go far. But I think they're just set up perfectly to play against every team except for Mexico. And hear me out on Mexico.
Ooh,
This is because
interesting.
this is not really a compliment to Mexico. Let's just
Okay.
Mexico are actually that much better when they control the ball. They are not like a team that you're worried when they control the ball compared to, say, a Canada or a US. At least not what we've seen recently. Of course, in the past, sure, but not what we've seen recently. And they've won a lot of games off of of course, but like scrappy goals and set pieces and Raul Jimenez brilliance. So I think that while they can have a flow state, I don't actually think that like Mexico might be a little weird for Panama, just because like when in the game in the final that they played, Panama had actually more possession, which is not something they probably like to do against these big teams. They probably have that mindset of we're going to counterattack. They actually had more possession against Mexico in the final. So, anyways, long story short, I think they can cause an upset, and I think they might totally do it against a team. Maybe we see another USA upset. I mean, I don't know the bracket like order, but whoever they come up with, it might be one of them. But I'm gonna put Panama as my dark horse because I think they got it. I think they got it.
I like that, Diego. Look at Diego go. I mean, you could argue whether Panama is a dark horse or not. Right. Like you said, we had a discussion. A lot of people in our comments, especially, have been putting Panama in the big three now and barring the USA. So take that with a grain of salt. It's subjective. It's personal opinion. For record though, so Panama, let's say they finish first place. I'm looking at the bracket right here. Let us say they finish in first place. What would happen is they would probably play the second place of Group B, which includes Canada, Honduras, El Salvador, Curaçao. That's a really good quarterfinal matchup for them. If they were to finish in second place, let's say Jamaica or another team finishes above them, they'd be 2C. They play the first of B, so probably Canada. We'll say not bad matchups either way. First or second, I think Panama can cause that upset. Joaquin, your dark horse of the tournament would be who?
Suriname.
Oh my goodness!
That's why you go first or second, but I just think like good too though.
Grab the video. It's over.
Let me say my part first. They have like a lot of good players that come from like Europe, like Geraldo Becker, who was balling a couple years ago. He's not the same peak anymore, but he's still like starting at striker on the wing. He gives a lot attacking wise. You have Haps at left back. They have a lot of like talent on the bench or starting, like Durustin as well. Another like former failed kind of wonder kid, but he's still like quality even in Liga MX. You have Doecki in defense at Union Berlin, who's doing really well, and I think right now is their highest valued player on Transfermarkt.
He just switched to Suriname as well. Yeah.
So they got him called up in the current preliminary roster, so he'll be starting and there's just a lot of really good talent. Like they have a lot of depth, even if it's not like well-known names. They used to be like in the top 5 leagues, or some of them still are, and they have not a bad group either. Like I mean, they're not going to finish first against Mexico. That's not happening. But I can see them potentially like drawing maybe and hoping to finish maybe second, and then from there, just like what can happen. We'll see.
I like that. Yeah, Suriname apparently was 3 of our picks as well.
It was my backup pick.
Oh, okay. Well, it was mine, so I'll piggyback off Joaquin there, and I'm not going to go too into detail because there may be a video for Suriname coming out soon that I may be doing, and we have been requested multiple times on the past couple of videos. But yeah, Suriname are entering into the Jamaica pool of Concacaf teams, in a very similar way where they're calling up a lot of European-based talent from dual nationals. And on paper, they should be a really, really good team and a really hard team to beat. Now, I think, though, and I really want them to advance forward and move along. But one, it's a tough group for Suriname because you have Costa Rica, who to the average football watcher may consider them second place, favorites for second in that group. The Dominican Republic did call up their squad, and it's not a bad squad. I think they're going to gun pretty hard for a second place there as well. So I think Suriname do have to compete with 2 pretty big opponents for second place, as well as Mexico, obviously, because you never know how Mexico's going to perform, despite them being the favorites. But Suriname, just because you have the names doesn't mean everything, right? Which we see from Jamaica time and time again. Maybe Suriname doesn't mesh well. I know that the Suriname coach isn't the most reputable coach in the world, nor the most successful in many of his ventures in the head coaching position. So anything could happen with Suriname, but they should be a team to watch. And I think they are the team to keep an eye on, other than your favorite team in the Gold Cup, which may or may not be the title of the video. Andres, your dark horse for the 2025 Gold Cup would have to be.
This is controversial in the sense of I do hate this team with a burning passion. So, it's a bit controversial pick for me. I put my bias aside and I've decided to pick Saudi Arabia. Never forget that World Cup. Never forget. Yeah, I picked Saudi Arabia. I know a little out of the grasp.
Continent.
Like content. Hopefully bringing in some new viewership, demographically speaking. Obviously. But look, I've done my research. They sit third, and they're Elijah should probably know this stuff because he is very into the Asian World Cup qualifying world and all that jazz and all the competitions and that. They do sit third in their group, in Group C, with Japan and Australia. Currently, Australia sits second. So, but right before they come to the Gold Cup, they have 2 World Cup qualifiers. One against Australia, and then another one. Hold on, I got Bahrain. I think. Bahrain. Fine. Yeah. Oh, Bahrain. My bad. That's probably a different country. Okay, cool. Look, they've grown a lot as a country in a footballing sense. In the sense of the Saudi Pro League, all that jazz, but I feel like if they come out with a good result here, I did some research on the Asia World Cup qualifying. It's the first 2 teams advance, and then they have another round of qualifying as a group stage, and it's the top teams of each group. So basically, if they win out their last 2 games, they have a solid chance of qualifying, depending on how Australia do, and if they can beat Australia, all that jazz. But I think if they're able to finish second in Asia World Cup qualifying, I think that's a pretty good shout to at least being in the running of not maybe a finalist finish, but maybe a semifinal, quarterfinal situation we're talking about. And I think they would just have a lot of confidence coming into it. Also, different style of football coming into Concacaf, a lot more physical, you could say, in terms of compared to, other footballing entities and how they compete. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. So I have them forward. It's a lot better than Qatar that one year. If you guys remember that? That was awful. So it can't be much worse than that. So that's my pick is Saudi Arabia. I did have Suriname as my backup option just in case someone picked Saudi Arabia, but clearly just me. So good thing I did research on that. But look, I remember playing against them. The Mexico national team playing against the World Cup. Decent, okay-ish side. Not really. I'm just trying to gas up my selection here. Did knock us out of the World Cup, technically speaking. So, look, and they developed a lot, and they have some quality players. So, some decent players. I'm gonna retract that statement. Decent players, certain positions, and I think they can add something different. Certain teams won't be able to anticipate or what they're used to. So I think Saudi Arabia has a shout. And you know me with my selections and dark horses. I always pick the lowest odds possible, the best odds, the ones that can win me the most money by putting down the less. And let me tell you, when I was looking at the odds, Saudi Arabia was a hard one. But I was like, man, if I only put like $10, I get a decent amount of money out of this. So I'm just saying, I would recommend maybe putting like 10, $20 on Saudi Arabia.
I wouldn't,
somewhere.
but
I'm just saying 10 or $20, it's just,
Okay.
it's nothing, but like the payout would go crazy. So
yeah, well,
I'm not saying who to use in terms of your gambling situation. I'm just saying maybe like 10, 20
use
bucks.
our code though. Get him foot. No, I'm scared. To comment on the Saudi
Prize
Arabia
Picks?
shout.
Prize Picks?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Well, I don't. Just hit us up. We'll discuss. We'll negotiate Prize Picks because I'm sure they're thinking about it. To comment on the Saudi Arabia pick real quick, and you know what, Andres, I applaud you for taking such a stance for a
demolish my entire.
But no, I think Saudi Arabia are very fortunate to have the group they do, where they have the USA and we're gonna talk about this in the next video we do, which is gonna be the who has the best roster, and we're gonna talk about all the rosters and whatnot. So make sure to watch that if it's already out, or get ready if it's not. But USA are still number one in that group, yet they don't look that strong, which we'll talk about, like I said, later. They don't look that strong. You have Haiti, who could be really good. I do think Haiti can be considered a dark horse to some extent, of at least moving on to the next round. And I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking Haiti. You have Trinidad and Tobago, who, they can show up. They've had better teams in the past, but they're resilient. They are a tough team to play against for sure. But I do think Saudi Arabia, though, relative to those teams. Now, if Saudi Arabia was in Group A, let's say with Mexico and Costa Rica, I don't see them getting out. If they're in Group B, maybe. If they were in Group C with the likes of Jamaica, Panama, I don't know if I see them getting out. But they are fortunate in that group. Now, Saudi Arabia aren't the same team from that World Cup. They are weaker. Their stars are getting older and less efficient in their contributions and to their club football at the very least, and even for the Saudi Arabia national team. They have good players. It's just Saudi Arabia are in a kind of a weird period where they're waiting on the next grand generation of stars, and they're kind of still relying on the older stars. So they could do it. I love their manager in Hervé Renard. We've talked about him numerous times on the channel before. He's a talented manager who's done great things in AFCON and for Asia, for Saudi Arabia. I like it though, Andres. I like it. I'm not going to say it's a bad one because it's not.
Put money on it. $20. Actually 100. All in.
Okay.
All in.
Well,
I'm all in.
I'm not the most confident. I wouldn't be the most confident in that bet, but there's a possibility. Yeah, there's a possibility. There's worse bets you can make in this tournament for sure. I have to mention Jamaica though, of course. Oh, well, that's not what I. If I'm being honest, I think Jamaica is a better shot than Saudi Arabia this year, and we say that every year. We say that every year. Jamaica.
I've lost all faith in Jamaica. I
don't know if you personally, Andres, had watched my reaction to the Jamaica roster, but they have a better roster than they have in tournaments past, to be honest, and roster comps. They've had Lewis Baker. I'm sure you guys have heard the name before, former Chelsea Academy player turned into Stoke City player. He's with the team and bolsters in midfield. Actually, Diego, Tottenham youngster Tyrese Hall is with Jamaica for the first time as well. Very good player. I think Jamaica, they should do really good here. I think, yes, they've had ample opportunity to not, but I think they kind of know it this year. Steve McLaren knows it this year. I think Jamaica do deserve a shout. I think I'm pretty confident in them moving on, at least to the quarterfinals. And I believe since 2015, I forget the exact stat. Either every single Gold Cup since 2015, they've made the semifinals at the very least, maybe bar one, but I'm pretty sure if not almost every tournament since 2015, they made the semifinals of the Gold Cup. Obviously, it is a different Gold Cup, right? Because you have the A teams of both Canada and Mexico. USA have more of an A team than years past. Jamaica don't have to worry about Club World Cup players at all as well. I think Jamaica have a good shout here. And I really hope they do well. I think they're in a better spot overall than the last Gold Cup, which, if some of you watching this may remember, we did do videos on that. That's why we have a big Jamaican audience now. I think they're in a better spot than that time. It's just a lot of other teams are too. If Jamaica had this roster last time, I think they would have finished a lot better than they did. But I think Jamaica do deserve a shout here because they have the possibility of performing very, very well. Let's real quick. I'm going to go back to the bracket. They're in Group C. If they finish in first place of Group C, they would play. Like I said, same thing with Panama. If they would play second of Group B, and that's a good matchup. If they finished in second place, they probably play Canada. That's a tough matchup, but I think it's
doable.
It's doable. It is
It's
doable.
not.
But it's yeah. Jamaica definitely deserve a shout though. I mean, and they also got really blessed with their group. Panama are a team that Jamaica can get on top of in the standings for sure. A lot higher chance than the likes of Canada or Mexico, and that's not necessarily between the two. That's more so with how they're going to play against the opponents. I think Jamaica can beat both Guatemala and I believe it's Guadeloupe, right? And then the other, yeah, Guatemala and Guadeloupe. I think Jamaica can beat both. Panama can as well. And then it'll just go down to the final match on match day 3 between Panama and Jamaica, which, if you're watching, we are going to be live streaming for. So make sure to subscribe if you're not, or have notifications on so you know when that's coming. But I think Jamaica could very well finish first. They could beat Panama. I think obviously Panama's a great team. But Panama could lose or draw to this Jamaica side. So I think Jamaica definitely do deserve a shout here. They definitely do deserve a shout, more so than years past, to be honest. And they have a good crop of players here at their disposal. As long as they can score the goals that need to be done, matters. Mason Greenwood would have been a huge addition. He's not there. Whatever. I think they can still do it.
That man pisses me off. Shit. More than multiple ways.
Yeah, well, content. So, the longer it's drawn out, the more content there is. Some shouts, some countries that have not been named that I'm interested in hearing why they haven't been named. Honduras has not been named so far. Costa Rica not been named so far.
Sorry.
Wow. And those are probably the two biggest ones. But yeah, no Honduras, no Costa Rica. I don't know. Do you guys have an opinion on that?
I had Costa Rica as my second option.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I mean, they do have a good team, and they also have, Piojo Herrera, famous Mexican coach.
Day too. It's really good.
Yeah. I mean, Costa Rica I think Costa Rica have kind of been swept under the rug over the past years. They are a World Cup qualification merchants, I would say. That's where they everybody knows Costa Rica is a part of it because they're always in the World Cup somehow. But I think we haven't really heard much of them recently. If you're not really into Concacaf, I think they've been kind of swept under the rug. They have a good team, and they have every chance to finish in second place of this group. That's why they were the second seed of this group. I think they're very, very good chance. Very good chance. But I do think, like I said, Suriname is going to cause a bit of an issue. I do think if you're a hardcore CONCACAF fan, Suriname versus Costa Rica is a game that you should watch. Definitely watch. Is that the one that's going to be in San Diego?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Is that is the matchup? I forget. Either way, I can't watch it because I believe I'm busy that day. But that is a game to watch for sure if you are an avid fan of football and or CONCACAF. Definitely watch that because that could make or break the group.
That is the game.
Okay, that is the game in San Diego. Damn it. Well, whatever. All right. Well, like I said earlier, let us know in the comments down below whether or not you think that any one of these teams are going to be dark horses for the tournament. And if we didn't name a team that you want to mention, let us know in the comments down below. Of course, we're going to have a lot more Gold Cup content per usual in the next coming weeks. I think this is the week where it kind of starts a lot. So make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Leave a like if you're excited for this Gold Cup and excited for one of these teams that we mentioned. And yeah, hopefully see you guys in future videos. Take care.